Boys, boys be like, my room is so dirty and disgusting, and I stink like shit. Girls be like, I like braiding hair. Let's braid each other's hair. And do makeup. Boys be like, girls be like, because girls and boys both fart and poop, okay? I'm sick and tired of listening to all these fucking rumors about how girls don't fucking poop. They do. So I, as a child, was gifted. I was blessed with unrestricted access to the internet. I would spend hours and hours and hours online playing cool math games, or The Sims, or Webkins, or chatting with my friends on Facebook, giving out like this status post for us, to be honest. Or watching funny viral YouTube videos, looking at porn on Facebook, watching ISIS beheadings. But in the 6th grade, 2012, the year that I was convinced would be the end of the world, a lot of these YouTubers began writing and releasing books. And I would always see them, of course, like I followed all of them, and they'd always be so excited talking about, oh, I got a book coming out. You guys, this is my memoir. I'm 21 years old. This is the story of my life, and I'm bearing my soul to you guys. I imagine a lot of these books are gonna be, you should believe in yourself. You can do it. No matter where you come from, no matter who you are, an orphan, terminally ill, you have to get a job working on a farm, breaking your back at 12 years old to support your family. Guess what? You can make your dreams come true, because I did it. If I can do it, you can do it. Zoella.
Girl, what the fuck is you talking about?
But I could definitely, even back then, see through the ruse. Back then I was a reader too, so I was fine. I was reading my Lemony Snicket? What was Lemony the... No, actually what I was doing was I was exacerbating my paranoia by reading a lot of dystopian books, because at the same time that YouTubers were writing books, so were 40-year-old white women writing about systems of oppression and making palatable stories out of that to sell to preteens. I remember it took me about 4 months to read The Maze Runner. I'd read about 3 pages and almost start crying because I would convince myself that that was going to be my life within a couple of weeks, like. But in this video, I will be reading 3 books from these YouTubers. These books were written and released, some of them over a decade ago. The first one I'll be reading is actually the first YouTuber that I remember ever watching or seeing, Joey Christopher. I can't see the point of explaining these YouTubers to you people, because, like, if you do not know these YouTubers already, there is no fucking reason for you to be watching this. But Joey was just like a super gay, quite flamboyant. I remember I don't think he was ever like in the closet, but it's quite shocking to me because I remember watching him for the longest time, and a lot of the comments and the conversation around him was his sexuality. But he would just make vlogs and stuff, and then I remember one time he did end up coming out, and the way he came out was his ex-boyfriend, I think his name is Daniel, they like made a music video, even though I don't even think he did music. Like, I think it was just like he randomly was like, let me write a song and I'm gonna make a music video that probably costed like $100,000 to make. And at the end of the video, they like kissed, and I was like, oh, people on YouTube back in the day used to treat coming out like the fucking Super Bowl, bitch. Like, that was their halftime show, that was their moment. And honestly, I respect it. Like, why not? But speaking of ex-boyfriend Daniel, A Work in Progress by Connor Franta. Love Connor Franta. He just seems like the sweetest guy on earth. But this is his memoir. He wrote it at 22, which is the age that I am currently. I think if you sat me down and like put a gun to my head and forced me to write my memoir at this point in my life, I'd pull down my pants and just take a big fat shit on the piece of paper and just smear it and say, here you go. This is my memoir. What I am most excited for this book though is the photography. When you see this fucking photography, because I will be including some of these images. I don't know if that's against copyright law or what, I don't give a fuck. They are astounding and so nostalgic. Just wait till you see some of these pictures. The third and last one that I will be reading is The History of My Insanity by Trisha Paytas. Oh, I just love her. I feel like every time her name is brought up, it's always followed with, oh my, but everything she's done, all the problematic behavior. You mean being a fucking icon? I don't get it. Like, what are you talking about? I'm just kidding, of course. I know she, I know. I'm aware of it. But I was a big Trisha Paytas watcher. I do think she is a genius, and I think that she's a performance artist. Like, everything she touches is iconic. I'm sure the words printed on these pages, they will be iconic. And I am just so excited to add a little bit more color into my perception and understanding of Trisha. You know what's funny is Trisha's book is the only one that doesn't contain pictures. It's because she's Shakespeare reincarnated. That's why. Okay, she said, I'm not coming with fucking pictures for shit. My art, my words speak for themselves. Okay? This shit is fucking crazy. He used to get bullied because he would sit with girls at lunch. The boys would bully him for this. But then the girls would also bully him for this, that he was friends with, that he would sit with, and they would apparently say, it's not funny, it's really dark. Sometimes out of nowhere, the girls would all gang up on me and tell me to go sit somewhere else. They'd sing along to the tune of It's Raining Men, but use the words, It's Raining Joey's Guts. Amen. The lines between the chorus were all about how my different insides and body parts would splat and explode all over the ground. They were fucking threatening it. I've never heard bullying like that. Threatening to blow someone up. How did kids even come up with that? Like, was this during the Cold War? Like, I don't get it. Okay, regarding that story, I'm just gonna say he is lying because now that I've finished the book, several of the stories he tells from his childhood, I do believe he is lying. I think he's creating these ridiculous, like they're Disney Channel type stories for his Disney Channel aged audience. After this story he tells, he does go on to tell another story where he's being bullied in the cafeteria, and to put these bullies in their place and show off, he goes over to the vending machine at school, buys a popsicle, which that was when he said that, when he wrote that, my first thought was, you are a damn lie, Joey. You are lying. I've never even seen a vending machine that has popsicles in it. And what school would have something so luxurious? But he buys this popsicle, turns around to face his bullies, and show off that, bitch, I got a popsicle and you don't. And on his first lick, his tongue gets stuck to the popsicle. Okay, so that's a lie. That is a lie. That's a lie. That is a lie. That just is a lie. So yeah, I just wanted to pop in to say that. What? Okay, so I have officially finished In Real Life by Joey Graceffa, and I have to say, I read the f*** out of this book. Like, he ate. I know I said in the beginning, like, I feel like a lot of these stories are gonna be lacking in substance, lacking in experience. These people are writing their memoirs at fucking 22 years old. Joey Graceffa wrote this when he was 24. But Joey Graceffa, he's lived a life that the story is 100% worth telling, and he did a really, really, really fantastic job of telling it in his own very idiosyncratic, charismatic way. And I learned a lot about him. He starts it off, of course, talking about his childhood. He was bullied in school for being feminine. He was born in 1991. That's fucked. So he was going to like high school in the early 2000s, which must have just been hell for a gay kid. But he also writes a lot about his family and his relationships with them. His mother was an alcoholic. His father wasn't very accepting of him being gay. In fact, his father said some really awful things to him about it. His parents got divorced. Like, he had a really, really, really hard upbringing. But as the book progresses, he talks about starting YouTube and discovering like the internet. I had no idea. He is one of the founding fathers of YouTube. Like, he literally came up with collabs. Like, back in the day on YouTube, collabing was the biggest thing ever. It was the only thing that mattered. Your favorite YouTubers coming together to film a stupid ass video, and at the end of the video they would go, oh, and by the way guys, we also filmed a video on their channel and that is gonna be linked below. And then you would go, 2 for the price of 1? Are you fucking kidding me right now? And then I had no idea, but I imagine the book dropped and then the music video for his song, I'm gonna actually, what is it called? Don't wait, Joey Graceffa. Cut that corny shit right now. But he came out in this book. It was the first time that he'd ever, at least publicly, but on chapter 14, as I showed you, is just the whole surprise. Okay, who is surprised? No, why would you call it like? And he's so honest. Like, he's so honest and so open. He talks about what it's like starting to date and all that type of stuff for the very first time as someone in their early 20s. It is so clear that this is just like a passionate, creative dude who is so genuinely kind and wants the best for everyone. Especially after like being mistreated so badly. It's clear that he learned a lot from it, and instead of becoming jaded and angry and hateful, he did the thing that I think is more rare, and he became even more loving and more kind. And purely because I think there's this like intrinsic goodness within him, and this book just makes it so clear because he's so just genuine and charismatic, and you can really see how he became so popular just based off of his personality. This definitely was like the most nostalgic thing ever, though, as I feel like when I was watching these YouTubers during that time, I was repressing a lot. And I look back at those years in my life, probably from like 11 to 14, with a lot of negative feelings. But this showed me that there was a lot of good. Like, there was goodness back then, and I did have joyful moments, albeit they were spent alone by myself in my bedroom. And reading these moments of him recounting that era, and he talks a lot about YouTubers that I watched. I'm gonna flash a photo on the screen actually that he includes in this. I experienced so many emotions when I first saw this photo. It was, first of all, it was kind of like an acid flashback. I don't think I realized how big of an impact these people made on my life. But I'm so glad that they were a part of it. I'm so glad that they were there for me when no one else was. The one thing I don't really understand about this book is who it's written for. Like, I understand that at the time, Joey Graceffa's audience was probably around the ages of like 12 to 16. So it makes sense to write for that audience. And for the most part, for the way it's written, it is written for that audience. It's very obvious. But then every once in a while, there'd be like really childish things or super adult things. There were a lot of these. So as you can see, it's supposed to be like a notepad or something. It's very childish. It's something that you would see in a book written for children, of course. But the way these fucking notepads, like, the level of maturity that these notepads contained differed on levels that were so shocking. Like, we've got on page 11, how to deal with bullies. And then he goes on to give advice. The advice he writes for this section, I'm reading a tiny bit of it. He uses the F slur. He writes, a good example is guys who call other kids, what you say? Queen. Then he continues on to say, the most homophobic dudes at school are probably just freaked out because they had a hot dream about their best friend and have no clue that it's totally normal human behavior to experience a little bisexuality from time to time. But then a couple pages later we have, do you think your parent might be an alcoholic? And then not 20 pages later, 10 bands that will always be in my iTunes library. Like, they often felt like, okay, I need to appeal to my audience, but I also want to tell my story from the perspective of a 24-year-old man, but I still want to be able to relate to like my 13-year-old audience. He's just a king of all kings. I read it in a couple of hours, and I genuinely think I got so much from it. It just as a book too, it's a good book. I read a lot of memoirs, and especially the beginning when he's writing about his childhood. It read like a really well thought out and put together memoir. But my plan for tonight is to, right now I want to start a work in progress after I finish a little bit of work. Hi. So it's like an hour later and I have completed a work in progress by none other than Connor Franta. And ultimately it is exactly what I was expecting a book written by a YouTuber would be. Very, I hate to say it, out of touch. I feel like I should mention before I tear this shit apart. I like Connor Franta. He seems to be a genuinely kind person who was very fortunate to grow up the way he did around the people that he did. He is very kind and genuine and intelligent, but he also is the product of a small town and seemingly a lot of privilege. But ultimately there just was no substance. It was very self-helpy, but in my opinion, he just has not lived a life. He's not had the experiences that warrant his advice to be very beneficial for anyone. It's very, well, I did it, so you can too. Like, crazy. I felt like a lot of these chapters were him grasping for straws. There was a chapter about how he has always struggled with FOMO, fear of missing out. An entire chapter dedicated to this lifelong struggle that he's faced. I think the most infuriating chapter in this entire book is called Live Now, Worry Later, where it seems like he's encouraging kids to drop out of school. It just is so out of touch and really quite insensitive. It's just essentially like, I was able to build a career that's not traditional. I followed that path. I followed my gut. I became very successful from it. If I was able to do it, everyone can do it. There is no excuse. In fact, there literally is a line. It's shocking. I'll just read this entire paragraph because it's crazy. Take it from someone who has changed his mindset. You can make now the place you want to be. Rub your eyes, focus, and see what's right in front of you. The gift of life. What you do with that gift is up to you. If you want to sit around all day tweeting about how much you hate your life and can't wait until you're older, I wish you well. But why wait? You could act now. What's holding you back? And then in parentheses, if you're a teenager, don't you dare say school. You can work around that to build toward the future. So no excuses.
Okay, James.
I understand this mindset. It's ignorance, I think, but it seems like at no point throughout this book does he acknowledge the fact that his upbringing is one of immense privilege. And in fact, it is incredibly rare that he was able to do what he was able to do. He has an incredibly loving, supportive family. His dad's a doctor, mother is a stay-at-home mom. And the way that he talks about other people too is... He tells us one story about this woman that I don't even think he knows. He was like, my friend told me this story about his aunt who worked a 9-to-5 job and was absolutely miserable. I do think there is a point where he does say, well, there's nothing wrong with working a 9-to-5 job. But the sentiment was, why would you waste time working a job that you don't like? Why wouldn't you pursue your dreams? I don't get it. Like, why? If I was able to do it, why can't you? Why wasn't that this random lady that I just know absolutely nothing about other than the fact that my friend said that she hates her job? Or there was another story he told too where he was in LA and he got into a cab and the cab driver was telling Connor about his brother and dad, I think. And he was like, yeah, they also worked jobs that they didn't like and they were miserable. Which, yes, of course, it's a wonderful sentiment that everybody should follow their dreams and do what they want to do and live a happy and successful and satisfying life. To apply your own experiences to absolutely everyone and make these wicked, like, whack generalizations, it was shocking. Like, I constantly was eye rolling and shaking my head because it was just, again, like, just very out of touch. The entire thing was just be yourself, follow your dreams. And now here's a picture of a plane window. Okay, now here's another picture of a plane window. Okay, and now here's actually another one. And then here's another picture of a plane window. Those, by the way, are real pictures in this book. The photography is a massive part of this book. If the photography was taken out of this book and it was just left with words, I think it would be about 75 pages, and I'm not over-exaggerating. This book, as it is over 200 pages. I don't know what he's doing now. I hope the best for him, though. I think he might still be doing photography. I don't know if he's doing it as a job, but this photography in this book, for 2015, it's great. But I think looking back at it, I think even Connor would probably look back at it and cringe. It's very, very Tumblr, which he makes a comment about. In the book, he talks quite a bit about his photography. He takes it very seriously. It's really quite funny because he'll get quite deep and very serious regarding his photography, and then you flip the page and... But there is a part where he does make a comment about how people would be like, oh, your photography is so cringy, it's very Tumblr. Because it is. It is a 14-year-old girl's VSCO. Like, these photos, I was on VSCO too, and I'm recognizing some of these filters. But I want to go through and show you my favorite ones because mainly they're just so nostalgic. Mind you, many of these photos, I'd say the majority of these photos, they have absolutely nothing to do with what he's writing about. Just like in the middle of him talking about YouTube or something, he'll just randomly... take up an entire page to put a photo of him holding an acorn just in the middle of it. Just, it has nothing to do with anything. This is the first one I want to talk about, and it's his pose. It was very Tumblr to like put your, like, go like that. So much of this book just seems like he's grasping for straws, because again, there is a lack of substance. It's so fucking random. It's so strange. I think this right here is a really good example. It encapsulates this entire book. So I turned to this page and I see it and I thought, ooh, maybe, you know, this photo, he's shirtless in bed. It's quite sensual, and the title, Say No, I was thinking maybe he's gonna talk about like an actually interesting experience he had, maybe regarding his sexuality. But no. We have about one paragraph and it is just about how he has a hard time saying no because he's a people pleaser. And that's it. With this random ass fucking photo of him shirtless in bed with his armpit hanging out. But then my favorite part is you turn the page. I'm not kidding. I'm gonna show you this in real, like, this dramatic ass fucking tortured poet shit. You turn the page. Latte art. This is another fantastic example of how fucking random this shit is. So we have another one of these pages. This is dedicated to coffee. A picture he took of, you guessed it, coffee. And then over the picture, he writes about how he likes to drink coffee. That's it. But then you turn the page. But then you turn the page, you are greeted by, fucking shithead. You are greeted by a newspaper clipping from like his hometown, Hoka Chiefs. The title of the piece is, Connor Likes His Bugs. And it's a story about how he likes bugs. But he doesn't write about this. Like, there's no, I read this and I was like, oh, well, he's probably gonna talk about this experience, maybe. Being in the newspaper, maybe he's gonna connect it to, like, his first time being perceived by the public. Or maybe this was, like, a big moment for him where he's like, oh, like, I like this feeling. I like the attention. I want more of this. No, that is never explained. These fucking photos, though, dude. Let's just quick, rapid fire go through some of them because they are so fucking funny. But I'm sorry, like, there's some good ones, though, I will say. There are quite a few good ones. I'm just not gonna show any of them because that's not very interesting. But trust and believe, there are some. This photo of his feet. This photo of his hand, this photo of his hand. We've got this photo of his hand, this photo of his hand, and then we got this photo of his hand. Then we've got this photo of his hand, which I actually think is good. I think this is a good photo. The lighting that he's got, I think there's something there. This fucking this had me on the floor crying. I'm so, it's so embarrassing. It's so fucking, why is it in a book? Again, like, there's nothing wrong with these photos. These photos are fun if this is your hobby, photography, even if you want to take it seriously. But why the fuck would you see this photo and think, oh, I'm gonna put that in a book. I'm gonna put that in my memoir. This, I just think, is horrendous. I'm sorry. Like, I'm showing you this, I know I'm gonna put it on the screen, but like, it's real. This is a real thing that he chose to put in this book. It's just a picture of clouds taken on his rose gold iPhone 6s. This fucking pumpkin ass, I must ask you a question shit, like this. If you're missing, if this joke is a bit complicated, it might be flying over a few of your heads. So if you look a bit closer, it says, do not sit on pumpkins. There's a sign right in front of the pumpkin. It says, do not sit on pumpkins. And as you can see, Connor is sitting on the fucking pumpkin, making that fucking, making that goofy ass face. Bitch, I did a thing. Yeah, overall, just bad book. I understand where he's also coming from with a lot of what he is writing about in this book. The lack of acknowledging his privilege. I don't blame him. He wrote this in what, 2014, a decade ago? I don't expect him to be as socially aware as we are now, but reading it from the lens of 2024, it is very shocking to see somebody whose unchecked privilege is just running rampant. And I have a feeling, because he is a smart dude, that he has grown a lot. Also, I would be remiss to not mention his charity work. At the end of this book, he talks about how he grew up volunteering at local nursing homes, churches, food shelters, but he's been quite involved in the Thirst Project. Supposedly he raised over $230,000 to provide clean drinking water for areas in Africa. So it's clear that he is very kind and smart and generous. He's just naive. He seems incredibly naive. But yeah, really weird and just a bad idea. Hey you guys, hey you motherfuckers, crazy ass bitches, what the fuck is up guys? So, I have completed The History of My Insanity by Trisha Paytas. I must say, I definitely enjoyed my time with this. I think that it was fun. It's written very matter-of-factly. It's like, I was on this TV show, and then from that TV show, I got cast on this TV show, and then I went over to this reality TV show, and then I went to this TV show. What the hell is that? Or like, I worked at this strip club, and then I got fired from this strip club because I wasn't very good at stripping. So I got hired at this other strip club. I definitely went into this book expecting chaos, the usual Trish character. But I learned very quickly that this was not written from the character, it was written from Trisha. She even says in the book that she considers the person that she plays on YouTube and TV to be a character named Trish, and that she is extremely aware of what she is doing. That when she behaves quite ridiculously on camera and says quite outlandish things, it's for attention. And she's making money from it. It's very, 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 very honest. And she very much so comes off as an attention-seeking freak, which in many ways she is. But there is so much more depth than that. She plays this character so unbelievably well. I mean, for almost 20 years now, 2 decades, she's been able to fool so many people on the internet and become incredibly wealthy from it. She makes it abundantly clear throughout this entire book that she is, and from the beginning has been aware of what she's doing. I think very similarly to Paris Hilton, they both played into the blonde bimbo stereotype. Trisha actually says at one point when she was in school that one of her idols was Paris Hilton, and she would just steal lines from The Simple Life and just regurgitate them at school. Because she grew up in fucking Illinois. Trisha grew up in Illinois. That just doesn't make any, like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work in my brain. I cannot picture Trisha Paytas in Illinois. She writes about how she started doing this in middle school to get attention. It's very, very apparent throughout this book that Trisha is just somebody who, above all else, has always just yearned to be loved and to love. And from a very young age, she was deprived of that. And I think that she was just so desperate that she deluded herself into believing that any form of attention was love. And the last chapter of this book, I almost was like tearing up. So she wrote this book at 24. In the last chapter of this book, she writes about how happy she is, how content and satisfied she is with her life and with her career. These words, she genuinely seems incredibly hopeful for her future. She writes about how her relationship with her family is getting much better because that was throughout her entire life very tumultuous. Her parents divorced when she was 3. Her father moved to California and actually became a millionaire. But she also writes about being in therapy and how that has helped her so much. I think that one thing that's very admirable about her is she's very honest with herself. And her ability to be honest with millions of people too is quite remarkable. Especially because the majority of the time, she was not met with compassion and love and understanding, but hate and ridicule. She also writes about her faith and her relationship with Christ, and writes about how going to church has benefited her. She also writes about her shopping addiction and addiction to food and how that is getting better. She writes, "I am slowly learning to trust people again. Even if someone has broken my trust, I will not hold that against the next person who comes into my life." But this last chapter, I said I teared up a tiny bit because I knew what was to come. I know that she's gonna go through extremely hard things still, lots of crying on the kitchen floor, but also knowing what I know now and knowing, or at least seeing, mind you, I don't really keep up with her much, but from what I've seen, I believe she's pregnant with her 2nd child now. It seems that she's in a very loving marriage with, I believe his name is Moses. From what I've seen, it seems that she has the family that she very obviously has always yearned for. So this last chapter, I had very conflicting feelings, both sad and incredibly happy. And I wouldn't be surprised if she wrote this entire thing in one night, during like a manic episode because that's how it reads. There's things that doesn't really make sense. There's quite a bit of like contradictions. She literally starts this book by writing, "It's a Friday night, I'm all alone, so I thought why not just crank out my autobiography tonight?" But in my opinion for Trisha, it's perfect. And I really want to read the last few sentences of this book because I think it does show her character. And I do believe with my whole heart that she means what she says. But she writes, "Take chances and keep the faith. Life is short, life is hard, but life is also beautiful. You woke up today with air in your lungs, so you know you are here on this earth for a reason. You have purpose and you are loved. Go out and inspire. Go out and live. And go out and love." Normally when stuff like that, exactly that, I read stuff like that, I just think, corny. It's corny. What is this cringy shit? But up until this point, reading everything she's experienced, and it's a lot of abuse. It definitely was hard at times to read. But I honestly think that her ability to be so open and honest with herself and others it's intrinsic. And I think it comes from a place of genuinely wanting to help others. I think sometimes it may not seem that way because of just the way she is and the way that she can come across, and her ability to string words together I think sometimes she definitely has missed the mark, but we all have. And I think when you're filming your life 24/7 the way that she has, you're gonna mess up a lot. She has every right to be jaded and angry and frustrated, but I do believe that deep down, this is who she truly is. And I get the sense that for the past few years, this is who she's been able to be. And it just warms my heart. And I'm so happy for her. I am kind of pissed off that she wasn't like talking about like dogs don't have brains, because that should have, I wanted this to be a funny video. But it ended up just being incredibly nostalgic and honestly quite healing for me. There was a period of my life in my youth where I relied on these people so much. Like, they were my only source of comfort. I would fucking be at school absolutely miserable, but the thing that kept me going was I think, okay, but when I get home, I get to watch the exact same vlog from 6 different angles. In each and every one of those vlogs, there will be a moment where 2 of the YouTubers point at the camera at each other and go, "Vlogception, vlogception." Because back in the Brits, who, okay, I really want to do, I think if I do this again, I really want to read the Brit Crew's books. But the Brit Crew, as they were known, would all hang out and vlog, and you would watch the exact same vlog 6 times in a row. But yeah, all in all, this was a great experience. I do not regret doing this. Connor Franta, I really hope I wasn't too harsh on you. I don't think like, okay, for what it was, for who it was for, it was great. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. Join my book club through Patreon. Follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Bacon. Pizza. Derp. I gotta go.